only for now. Let's welcome back to the programme, without any further ado, Mr. Tom Crawford. Tom, welcome back, mate. How are you?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Richie. They think they've got my house, but I can assure you it's only an illusion on their behalf.
I hope so, mate. I really do. There might be people listening tonight who maybe didn't hear us in January. Do you want to give them, in your own time and in your own words, a kind of a quick overview of the case, if you want?
Right, a brief synopsis.
You're probably sick of doing that. Now, I know that, but
no, it's all right.
Ultimately, people might not know. Go on.
Yeah, in 1988, took out an endowment. We paid it up to 1992, when my wife found out that they changed it to a part capital, part interest. And then they apologised at wine and flowers. And they said they're very sorry, it's not up to their standards. And we assumed everything went back to what it should have been until 2006, approximately. Maybe 2002. This is different things happened. But basically 2006, it was on a capital, it was on a repayment only. That meant everything that we'd already paid was just going to capital. So we stopped the payments, stupidly, thinking that a threat of not getting money, they would change their minds. They attempted to take us to court. By that, we paid the arrears that we had. Then come along to 2013, at the end of the mortgage, or should I say 2011, I got seriously ill. And my wife, absolute hero, that's Sue, she took 3 jobs to carry on paying these criminals to get to the end of the mortgage. We got into a bit of trouble. We got 3 payments behind. They took us to court, got a possession order which was suspended, provided we continued paying and got rid of the arrears, which we did. And we finished off with an extra payment, because we know how skullduggery they can cook up. But we insisted that we did our part of the contract, which was right under contract law. But then they said, but you're in arrears now because you didn't pay off the capital. Trouble is, they didn't really understand their own, or they do understand their own contract, that once the contract ends, and that capital was a separate part of the contract at the end, it became a debt, not arrears. And you can't take property on a debt. You can only take it on arrears. So they went after that. Michael Benicio assisted me with Mr. Ebert, and we put into court a skeleton argument, unfair trading. That's the 1977 Act. And if they insisted that it was changed, that came under the 1988 Miscellaneous Act, which Michael won several cases on, including his father's. So they got scared of that. And then they admitted that it was still an endowment. And the judge would not listen. But the main thing about it all is they didn't even pay a fee to start it all off. Every case in this country cannot, no case can proceed without you paying a fee. There was no notice of issue, which is another problem. And the corruption between the banks and the courts is horrendous. So we've been making big waves, and they didn't like it. So they targeted our little family. They came along on the 2nd while I was going down to London to help save a home for another couple. They turned up with approximately 150 police, 21 riot vans, 3 helicopters, dogs, 40 to 50 bailiffs and removal men. ISIS does not get this treatment. In fact, they did a rehearsal in London the week before. Probably the same amount of people took part in it.
Yeah,
absolutely shocking.
They went after Facebook pages that were in support of you and Sue, didn't they? Because they obviously wanted to cut the line of communication, and they wanted to get in and do this before people had a chance to mobilise and prevent them doing it again. Is that right?
Yeah. This business of the police only there to see that there's no breach of the peace. We've just discovered that they redirected our telephone. They intercepted it because we contacted, it was Virgin Media, to have it turned off. We didn't want those people using it. And they said, oh, the telephone hasn't been used from the house since last week. And of course, we've been using it. So that meant it'd been redirected through their system and it wouldn't have been registered. So the police have been aiding and abetting, and the council.
If you're just joining the show, Tom Crawford is on the line with us. Tom has had a pretty rough time of it of late. He was on the programme back in January. He was able to show us and a lot of other people that he had paid a lot of money, more than the cost of the house, to his mortgage provider over a period of years since the late 1980s. They changed the terms of the mortgage and came after him and said he owed them money when he really didn't. Judgment went against him, and as we said just over a week ago, he was basically evicted. And the description, Tom, of what happened when they finally took back, I should say take back. I shouldn't say take back. I should say took. They stole. They didn't take it back. They stole the house. It's the sort of thing you would imagine if they suspected that you were running an Al-Qaeda cell in the house. That sort of subterfuge, the way of going about it is what you would expect. I mean, it's incredible. Now, the papers and the BBC reported that you were arrested for assaulting a police officer. What happened there?
Well, I'm a very dangerous man. I'm so dangerous that I assaulted a police officer while I was handcuffed.
Right.
I warned them that when I'm on certain tablets, I'm a haemophiliac, and should I be bruised, my doctor said that, or the surgeon said, if a clot got to my brain, I had 7 to 10 minutes to get to hospital, and the hospital's at least 15 minutes away. They were well aware of that. But the most shocking thing of all is Sue, my wife, her mother died, and she was still in the mortuary. Now, she's a vulnerable person. In that condition alone, it is the duty of the police to take care of a vulnerable person. Can you imagine? She's mourning and they're stealing her house. And then on top of that, our dog was dying. Well, he was seriously ill. We thought he may have to be put down. We're trying to hold him on till I got back from London and take him to the vets. The following day, he was on medication. But they took that dog. In fact, they threatened to put the dog down immediately if Sue didn't get out of the house. Same with the cat, her mother's cat. She promised to take care of the cat.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, they got no humanity, these people.
I was just going to ask you that, because when they come mob-handed like that, I always imagine, I've not really had very much to do with the police over the years. Once I had a bit of an incident. My brother was assaulted by a police officer for no good reason around Christmas many years ago, when he was a bit pissed, like most people are at Christmas, most Irish people anyway. And it's the only time I've ever had it.
Myself, I understand.
Yeah, we've done, we do it, right? But it's the only time. I have to believe that some of the police officers there were ashamed to be there, Tom. Did you get that impression off of any of them? Did any of them, they wouldn't look you in the eye, they put their eyes on the ground?
There was two, to their credit, my daughter was speaking to them and explaining the situation, and they turned round and said, so this is an illegal eviction then? And at that, the sergeant, Nick Clark, who assaulted my wife, and I'm going to do as much as I can to get him in jail. He's the one that dragged her through the fencing. He turned up and said, that's enough of that. You two can get up the top of the hill, clear off out of here. You're getting too close to this.
Right. Karen has been on to say, good God, they're bastards. I don't usually use language like that, she says, but this is absolutely disgusting. Paul was on to say on Twitter, the reason so many police turned up is because they know we are all waking up. Well, Paul, that's it. I mean, they would have seen on previous attempts to remove Tom and Sue from their house. They found it very difficult because so many people turned up. And people don't turn up in their thousands to support somebody unless they know that the person is in the right. You know, people know instinctively. Emlyn was on to say, everybody's behind you, Tom and Sue. Nottingham and the country stands together for you. And we wish you the best in your next court case, says Emlyn. And when you were on with me in January, you were able to explain to me that the total sum of the monies that you and Sue have paid these people over the years vastly exceeds the cost of the house. Isn't that right?
We paid approximately 120,000 in payments, maybe 130.
Now remind us of what the house would cost when you bought it back in 1988. What did it cost?
That was 41,500.
I can't, Tom. I want to start swearing, and not for effect, and not because I want anybody to be impressed. I want to kill people when I hear that. I want to grab people and punch them in the mouth. You've paid 3 times in payments over the years the cost of the house.
Yeah, and then they wanted the price again of the house, plus whatever interest. But it's a very strange case. The biggest problem is the people that's been helping us, because they've worked out their system. They've also they've got to stop me. They've got to stop Sue putting this information out there, because, I mean, all I was just a tradesman. You know, I was good at my trade till I got ill. And then I went to sleep one night and woke up in a film, and I don't know whether it's a horror or a comedy. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Because I laugh about it too. It's a very strange situation.
Well, you said there's like we're all Celts, and we have a fatalistic black humour when things aren't going well for us. You have mentioned your real Tom, and the papers have said it, and people who are following the case will know that you're battling cancer. How are you doing? How are you doing at the moment with that?
No, that's fine. The papers used that. They didn't go into the actual story as they normally don't. It was headlines: cancer man being evicted. No, it wasn't. It was injustice that was happening to an innocent man and his family that's been evicted. They wouldn't.
Absolutely.
That's not a story. So they were using the cancer. The only reason why I'm not well is because the surgeon cocked up and damaged my bladder, bowel. I've had my last operation. I went down. I said to the nurse, "What number am I on the theatre list?" And she said, "You are the number on the theatre list." Went down at 8:30 and came back in the morning. Came back at 9 at night. Yeah.
A number of people have asked me to name them. We already named them. It's Bradford and Bingley, but they're owned by Santander. These are corrupt institutions, these banks. You know, let us never forget that they don't have the money that they loaned to begin with. The money they loaned Tom and Sue, the minute that it landed in the account of the person whom Tom bought the house from, it came into existence. It didn't exist before that. That's right. You know, they spend their lives fixing interest rates, buying and selling people with phantom money, ruining people's lives. A couple of different people, Emlyn, and I had an email from Jane, and Jane says the same thing as Emlyn. Don't forget that these endowment mortgages are very, very dubious, and they might very well be, let's hope they are, the next scandal, the next PPI banking scam. Now, PPI is payment protection insurance, which banks were charging people for decades without ever getting the consent of people, and they're paying out, well, I don't know how much they're paying out. They want us to believe they're paying out massive amounts of money. It's probably not as much as they're saying, but they are awful, awful places. Tom, a number of people are saying, yeah, obviously you and Sue, you've got a roof over your heads now. Have you moved into kind of temporary, permanent accommodation in the meantime while you fight this? If you rented a house, where are you at the moment?
I'm staying with a relative. My daughter's sleeping on the couch, and we're in a small bed. That's what we got. The liaison officer who was trying to persuade Sue out of the house saying, oh, we've got a nice house ready in Gedley, which is a district. It's all ready for you to go. Now, come on, let's go along. They were trying to get around. Of course, there was no house. They lied. The police liaison people are only there to bend you or anybody else to the will of the police, what they want to do. Independent of the situation, assisting in civil matters, of course not. They wouldn't do that. Bloody right they do. The only reason why these bailiffs and banks are getting away with what they're doing is because the police allow them. They step out of... I arrested, personally, 2 of the inspectors. So they're under arrest. I told them to make their way smartly to the nearest police station and hand themselves in. They totally ignored that. Yeah. So now they're fugitives, really, from common law.